It's Wednesday, March 26th. And we'll start with introductions. I'm Diana Nave. For most of you, I think, know me, but I chair the Northwest Planning Committee.
Can you put the video on so I can see who's in the room?
Can you wake up the video, Jason?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, just.
Here we go.
Jason, you wanna?
Jason Herring, Northwest, planning land use.
Elise Swanson, Coastal San Pedro Land Use.
Elisa Gordon, Department of City Planning.
Christine Jagalian, Department of City Planning.
Lamar Lion Central.
Adele Healy.
Coastal.
Adrian Fernandez, Central.
Doug Epperhart, Coastal.
Garrett Tank, Northwestern.
New member of the Northwest Committee.
Welcome.
Lori Feldman, Coastal Planning. Another new member. Welcome.
Samuel Rampy, Northwest. Ellen Franz, Coastal.
Pat Nave, Northwest.
And let's see who's online. Tom, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Thomas Norman from Northwest.
Where in the world are you tonight?
I'm actually in northwestern Wisconsin,
Oh, okay.
trying to help preserve American democracy.
Oh, great.
We need you.
Robin?
Some cheese.
Robin Rudisell, Coastal San Pedro Land Use Chair.
And Frank, iPad? Frank? Okay. I think that's Frank
I
Anderson.
was
yeah.
muted. I was muted,
you go.
sorry. Frank Anderson Central.
Okay, and let's see, I missed one person.
Axel.
Axel.
Mm-hmm.
Axel, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Axel Palacios, Director of Port and Capital Projects for Councilmember McCosker.
And then we have Carly Morris.
Oh, Carly. Carly.
Sorry,
Carly Moore?
let me unmute. Yes, I'm from Coastal Neighborhood Council. I'm just here to learn today.
Oh, welcome. And then we
Thank
have
you.
Yeah, Alex Heath, Department of City Planning. The founder of the Department of City Planning.
Super, thank you. Okay, well, with that, we'll get started with the Department of City Planning. Here in, of course, thank you for driving all the way down to San Pedro. We appreciate it.
Traffic.
We're talking tonight about the zoning code update. I think this is the third time. Yeah, maybe the fourth, that I think that we've talked about it. So it's been a work in progress, in process. So this is an update on where they're at and some of the concepts. So with that, I think I'll just turn it over to you, Alyssa.
Okay, great. So we'll just put the slide show up.
And we were just joined by Kane Nichols, who's also from Northwest.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us here tonight. My name is Elisa Gordon, and I'm a city planner with the Department of City Planning. I'm here with Christine Jagalian, who's working on the San Pedro zoning code update with me. And also in attendance is Alex Heath, the city planner overseeing the new code transition into community plans. And Makan, your last name? Baranguri, sorry about that. So for today's presentation, if we can go to the next slide, please. We'll provide examples of different zones and how the project, which brings the new code into the plan area, will be implementing the community plan or CPIO. The zoning examples are for residential, commercial, and industrial contexts. We'll also be providing a project update on the timeline and next steps. We also want to be available to address any topics that the Neighborhood Council Land Use Committee members may have, and we can do so in the question and answer discussion portion after the presentation. So I'm going to now turn it over to Christine to go over some background.
On slide 3, please. To summarize how this project fits in with existing and new policies, we are highlighting here the relationship between the community plan and new code efforts. The San Pedro Community Plan established a zoning and general planned land uses in San Pedro, and it directed growth towards commercial corridors and preserved single-family neighborhoods. A zoning tool called the Community Plan Implementation Overlay District, CPIO, was established to implement the community plan goals. The CPIO provides tailored zoning regulations for multifamily, commercial, and industrial properties. The new code was recently adopted in October of last year. As the city updates its community plans, the new code will implement the policies and goals for different neighborhoods across the city. The map of Los Angeles on this slide shows the downtown community plan effective in dark blue, and Boyle Heights and Harbor plans under council review, and 11 additional plan areas currently under development with adopting the new zones. The project we are presenting on today is a San Pedro zoning code update. This project was initiated to apply the city's new zoning code and its zoning system in San Pedro. The project follows the Wilmington Harbor City and Harbor Gateway plan updates as they are currently in the adoption phase. With the San Pedro zoning code update, the harbor area would be under the new code. Next slide, please. The San Pedro zoning code update is a project to implement the city's new zoning code in San Pedro. The proposed new zoning works within the new code structure and includes enhancements made available by the new code. The zoning project includes addressing the Community Plan Implementation Overlay, the CPIO, district plan regulations. We'll also be utilizing the city's new set of general planned land use designations that accompany the new code. The project will result in the need to update the community plan document to account for changes in zoning and land use, requiring maps, figures, and nomenclature to be updated. Next slide, please. The new code offers a modular system of zoning that allows for a variety of regulations to be packaged together. Different zoning regulations are broken into components that can be mixed and matched. The first three components are form, frontage, and development standards, which regulate the built environment. The next set is use and density, which regulates activities. The third optional bracket would indicate if there is an overlay, such as historical preservation zone or the San Pedro coastal specific plan. Next slide, please. Some of the highlights of the new code are the variety of zoning tools that address the city's unique context. The zoning structure allows for zoning regulations to be tailored to address a specific policy outcome of an area. The new code is designed to be clearly understood and accessible to the public with illustrations and tables as shown by the graphic on the slide. Enhanced and additional design controls are offered by the new code that are objective and facilitate a streamlined process. Next slide, please. Oh, here. The new code is available to browse online through a user-friendly website. The web page is within the city planning site. Here you can see on the web page and how we have the ability to search for terms and questions, browse zoning code regulations, or search for property regulations. Moving back into our presentation, I'll turn it over to Lisa to continue with our zoning examples.
So for today's briefing, we're going to cover some examples from residential, commercial, and industrial land use categories. Within residential, we have examples from single family and multifamily contexts. The zoning examples we'll cover will not make up all of the zones that we're proposing for San Pedro. They're just being presented as an example of one of many different zones that will ultimately be proposed. The policies cited here and in the next slides are from the San Pedro Community Plan policy text document. The policies from San Pedro Community Plan inform zoning and show how the new code can implement these policies. So in the next slide, you'll see, so we're going to start off with residential, and you'll see this text that comes straight from the San Pedro Community Plan policy document. So in LU 1.1, the policy is centered around neighborhood character in residential areas. Lot size, topography, housing scale, landscaping. These are some of the things that were identified that distinguish a neighborhood. And regulating these features can help maintain the characteristics of the area. So in the next slide, we have an example of what a single family zone would look like in the new code. we have additional features that are built into the zone, and they're designed to replicate built-out conditions. So we have the opportunity to regulate height in a new way by requiring the bulk to be limited at the specified 22-foot vertical height limit. And at that point, requiring either a flat roof or a pitched roof that can continue to the specified height limit, which in this example is 30 feet in height. This would prohibit a large box style single family home to be built, and that would maintain the character of residential neighborhoods. Other design elements in this example include requiring what's called a primary entry feature. So the new code provides these options such as a porch or a raised entryway, and this provides like a focal architectural element in it, as well as a means of wayfinding. Single family home projects under the zone would be required to have a minimum of 50% of the front yard landscaped. So this slide is just a summary of just a few of the refinements built in the new code and how we're going beyond the basics R1 single family regulations to respond more directly to the community plan policy goals. So in the next slide, we have a multifamily land use category. So in LU 3.5 compatibility, there's the direction to maintain the visual and physical character of single family housing and design to complement building patterns of surrounding residential development. We also have here the policy of including usable open space under amenities in LU 3.6. In the next slide, we have a multifamily zone example. A common one in San Pedro is RD 1.5 zone. So from the prior slide, we read about how multifamily development should complement the surrounding area and maintain aspects of lower scale design. So single family is often smaller in scale than multifamily development. So to maintain visual character, we can break up the massing of buildings. And in the new code, we can require a building break. So that would mean at every 50 or 75 feet, a building break would be required to break up the building. That would make the buildings more compatible visually compared to like a large, massive building with no breaks. Common amenity spaces are required at grade in this multifamily example, and a percentage of the outdoor amenity space must have shade trees or structures to allow for comfortable, active, or passive recreation, which responds to the community plan's multifamily amenities policy. So like in the single family example, entry features are also required. This would aid in creating visual continuity with residential development. And they're provided in the image on the lower graphic. So there are options such as porch, projecting entry, recess entry, and forecourt. The next slide. So moving on to the commercial districts, San Pedro Community Plan Policy, LU 5.11. It directs buildings to be oriented to and engage with the public realm through various regulations like building orientation, setbacks, facade articulation, ground floor transparency, and location of parking. So in LU 5.3, the policy of restricting specific uses is identified. This is also a component of the San Pedro CPIO. So in this next slide, we have an example of what commercial zoning could look like for a commercial corridor in the new code. The San Pedro Community Plan Policy envisions buildings that engage the street. In this example, we have required ground story treatments, such as transparency and entry features. Parking setbacks are built into these districts that force buildings to be to the front and orient the building to the street. The entry features are customized for commercial context, and they include things like required either a courtyard, a storefront bay, a market stall, a projecting entry, and covered and recessed entries. Another point, when projects reach a certain scale, the new code can require transitional height. And this prevents looming impacts and reduce the mass and bulk of buildings when they're adjacent to neighborhoods with lowering height limits. So that's what the bottom graphic is showing. I just want to add, before I move on to regulation of uses, we also have, maybe it's not in this presentation, but in one of our prior presentations, we talked about crafting a specific character frontage for the historic downtown San Pedro. So that would be along 6th and 7th Street, as well as along Pacific Avenue. And that can be coupled with this zone and be required just for that portion of historic San Pedro. But moving on to regulation of uses, we have a range of use districts that we've crafted, and they have a lot of built-in regulations. So one of those things are we have the opportunity to limit tenant sizes, so we can restrict large format retail. We also can we have distancing requirements built into heavier commercial uses. But I'm going to move on to the next slide to go over a little bit more specific about the mechanism of how the use permissions work. Going back to the community plan policy, it restricts auto-oriented uses. So in this case, we came up with this. We pulled the use from a fueling station as our example, and also the San Pedro CPIO has specific language that restricts auto uses. So in the new codes use districts, we have these different sets of permission levels. And on the left-hand side, you'll see a double dash within the district when a use is not going to be permitted. But even when a use is permitted, as you would see on the right side, we can still attach additional requirements and standards. And that's what you'll see when you see a P followed by an asterisk in our new system of use allowances. And prohibitions. So the additional standards that are attached to the asterisk are on the right-hand side. So they are the distancing requirements, separation from specific uses, screening, specified hours of operation could be possible, as well as other supplemental standards that are more specific depending on the type of use that is proposed. So moving on to the next slide. So for our final land use category, the San Pedro Community Plan calls for transitions from intensive uses to less intensive uses with respect to residential neighborhoods in LU 15.1. It also calls for the requiring of design techniques such as building orientation, landscaping, increased setbacks for new developments to enhance the physical environment in these neighborhoods. In the next slide, we have our last example, which is the industrial zone example. So we just talked about use regulations in commercial. They're also very pertinent to regulating industrial uses, industrial zones. We have different industrial districts in the new code, and they have a lot of requirements built in, such as distances from sensitive uses. So in the first graphic on the top, you'll see that it's the example is a sensitive use of a warehouse, and this would be required to be 500 feet from a residential zone. And a lighter industrial use might be still required to be set back from 200 feet from a residential zone. All light and heavy industrial uses are required to be enclosed. Under supplemental standards, we have mitigation measures to address impacts, such as a project-specific health assessment could be required, or a truck roading plan if it's applicable. So under enhanced design elements, we have the example of screening, which will include landscaping. We have landscaping requirements that could be between the public realm and the property, like shown on the graphic on the bottom. We also have landscape buffering from sensitive use or zone and industrial properties. Cleanup, green up standards are built into all our industrial districts as well. So moving on to the next slide. We do have an updated project process timeline, so I just wanted to share that today as well. We're currently completing our zoning development. We're making refinements, and we are going to be sharing all our zones and all our proposed general plan land uses later this year. And following that, we would like to hold a public hearing. At that point, that would be mailed public hearing notices area wide, and we'll be taking in public testimony. That would be followed by City Planning Commission, Planning and Land Use Committee, and finally, City Council would be voting on adopting the project. And the next slide. So I just wanted to share out what we plan to do, coming up next. We are going to be working and narrowing down our specific regulations. We plan to release information in the form of fact sheets. So the things that we're planning to create fact sheets on are our hillside regulations, and Pedro has a lot of hillside community that's currently in the works. We also want to provide more information on character and conservation districts in downtown San Pedro. I understand that there's a lot of interest in that as well. And our zones are going to be released through a story map. And that is something that we currently do have a story map up online, but it only shows the general plan land uses. So our next iteration, we plan to have the actual zones that are plugged in for any individual property that you can search in San Pedro. You'd be able to see what the proposed zone would be for the draft zone. We're also going to be available for online office hours in between releasing our zones and holding a public hearing. So we would be able to, you could schedule an appointment with us to ask any questions, to go through zoning or, take in any concerns that you may have. I think moving on to the next slide, I think that's just our contact information listed. Please do feel free to get in touch with us. We're very interested to hear your comments and questions. We can always dig into some of the concepts in more detail as well. And also, please follow up on the project on our website. Sign up with your email address, and then you'll be alerted when we release information or be holding a public hearing virtually. So that concludes our presentation, but we're happy to stay on for questions.
And Robin's hands up, and then I see Pat. So
Okay.
we'll start with Robin.
All righty, thank you. Thanks, Elisa. As you know, one of our neighborhood councils is a coastal zone, coastal San Pedro. And I was curious about whether any of the coastal set of policies and zoning is going to be reflected in the new zoning code. I mean, you're aware that we need a local coastal program or an LCP. Right now we have a land use plan, but it's what we must follow. And I just wondered if that will be reflected in the new zoning code, or will that be handled separately as it has been in the past? And also curious about how specific plans factor in.
Sure. So I do understand that the Venice LCP, they're currently working with a new zone to develop a new code to develop their specific zoning regulations. For this project, we are planning to just work through the San Pedro Community Plan regulations that are on the books to to find the equivalent zones that are reflected in the new code. So any LCP would really be intended to be more of a follow-up program. I know that there's the San Pedro specific plan on the books that regulates coastal, and we're planning to keep that intact. So we would be making changes to the base zoning, but the San Pedro specific plan would still apply.
Okay, so it'll still stay as it has been, separate, until someday when you follow what Venice is doing and putting it all in as a separate zone?
That's correct. I mean, there may be some interest to look at like an area harbor wide and update the coastal program for other parts of the harbor area as well. So that's just something that would be a separate project, and we're currently not equipped to work on that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Two questions, two areas I'm concerned about. One is I'm aware that seems to me I've seen some kind of a map that shows that R1 lots could have additional units put on them. For example, where we live, we have kind of a large lot, and it would allow us to have 5 ADU units on our lot, even though it's a single family house. Does that mean then that you'll upgrade the zoning from R1 to something else?
No, it would be consistent with what is allowed today, so we would still have a base zone of 1 unit. But the regulations where people can build accessory dwelling units would also apply in the code.
Second question is, much of what you were talking about, particularly in the area of multifamily, sounded like discretionary judgments might be applied, different kinds of entries and so forth, and distance between houses and structures and so forth. Whenever I hear discretion, I think of, the experience of the person. How do you intend to implement discretionary judgments? And is that an accurate concern about that there's going to be discretion involved in these things?
I don't think I used the word discretionary. I think.
I did. I'll take ownership of the word.
Okay. I think the entry features, we're giving people a set of options and they can choose, which entry feature that, architectural style that they want to have. So, I mean, that, I guess maybe I don't understand your
Just
question.
get into that. Yeah, so all of the standards that are built into our frontage unit are objective. So we have specific dimensional standards that can be administered by anybody at the county. So in effect, it'd be by right standards. There'd be no discretionary review of the administrators.
Yeah, when I hear discretion, I hear the word corruption.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the new zoning code is really striving to make everything, all these standards that were historically discretionary as objective standards that could be administered by right.
Thank you. Good.
How is this going to relate to all of the things that came about as a part of the update of the general plan?
You mean the housing element?
Yeah, the housing element.
Well, this project is not seeking to change anything related to the housing element. So anything that's adopted, it is adopted, it would be implemented. I mean, it is.
When someone goes to the code, they won't see anything referencing the changes that were just adopted, or there will be something in there that references that, or how will they know?
Yeah.
I mean, like there were all these new.
Yeah, so the housing element update, the rezoning happened in the old code, but it does apply city, including areas that are applying, we call chapter 1A.
Right.
We are striving to bake all of those incentives into the underlying zone, so the general public can see and understand how big buildings can be, even if it's part of an incentive program. So if you're allowed, 2-story buildings on a commercial corridor, on an opportunity corridor without affordable housing, and 5 or 6 stories with affordable housing, that'll be reflected in your zone.
And where in that diagram of the various parts of the zone is that under
That
that?
would be in the form district. So the form district is what regulates how big the building can be.
Go to slide 5, we'll see the form district.
So the way that'll be displayed in the district in your zone, it'll show base, like your base story, 2 or 3, and your domes, which will be.
Okay,
Here.
that answers the question.
That's one of the new innovations of the code, is it displays everything you need to know in your zone, rather than having to go search overlays and exceptions and specific plans. It's all meant to be baked into your zone.
My next question is, as you went through it, you were talking about these were examples of how something might be. I got the feeling that when you showed us the multifamily, that there were you could have given us other examples that look different. How does this process of going from our existing zoning into these more specific form, how do you make those decisions as to what goes where and how it's going to look?
Well, I mean, I think, we do have, R1 zones in San Pedro, and they're not all the same. Some of them today, they're subject to baseline hillside ordinance. So I just wanted to, make sure that just because we're showing an R1 example, but we may also, we're working towards the hillside R1 as well. In multifamily, I mentioned that we have like RD 1.5, but we have like R3 zones, that are higher intensity. So there is a range. The examples that we wanted to show were more of the common examples in San Pedro, but there are, differences within land use categories, within zones.
So the differences have to do with differences that currently exist in the
Yeah,
zoning
they
now.
currently
Okay,
exist
that-
now.
Yeah, so we're moving towards, if anybody cares about how all this is kind of built and rebuilt, it's a modular system. So today, your zone like R1 tells you your height district, it has everything packaged together and it's very rigid. You can't really change what uses are allowed or how big buildings can be or how dense. This is a modular system, so you could take a certain building envelope, let's say a 2-story house, and you could adjust the density up or down. You could also change the frontage, so you can get, a porch frontage or front yard frontage, the landscape, lawn in the front. It allows you to kind of respond to a lot of the local conditions that we see on the ground without having to create a whole set of zones. And
That still, that kind of begs the question of how does, since there are those different options, how, when you actually finalize it for San Pedro, you will decide which of those options to put on a specific piece of property.
It's pretty straightforward because we have a recently adopted community plan CPIO, which is fairly modern. So we just look at what the regulations allow for today, and then we just put everything in the right place. And that's kind of in the exercise for this project.
Jason,
Yeah, so you mentioned you're developing some kind of a hillside zoning special exceptions or specifications. Has the recent experience with the Palisade fires and evacuation routes played into any of your thought on some possible additional parameters around how to upzone or change zoning on some areas?
Defer to Alex, since
Sure.
it's from
Yeah.
his team that they're developing.
We're developing hillside zones for the rest of the city right now. We're not currently looking at changing the zoning in the Palisade, that's a whole separate effort. But with regards to like the valley, for example, which has a lot of hillsides, Santa Monica Mountains, we are looking at some additional, health and safety, fire prevention measures. That would include things like defensible space, so the landscaping you could build or plant around your property. Greater setbacks, also maybe different standards if you're on a substandard street, a greater setback, so you can require emergency vehicles to, or allow emergency vehicles to the neighborhood. So everything is being rethought right now, and a lot of these standards have been developed in the past through different efforts. We've got a whole patchwork of regulations throughout the hillsides. Right now, we're kind of examining all of those and looking to see what the best practice is and then embedding those into the zones. But it's still early days. We still have a lot of outreach to do around that topic, for sure.
I don't know.
First, I'd like to thank you all for coming down and explaining the program for us. I have a couple of interconnected concerns. You made reference in your comments to protecting or preserving usable open space, but that brings up the issue with potentially multiple ADUs on property, and it's troubling to me. I always lived in places where there were places for children to play and things like that. And I see particularly more congested parts of the community having fewer yards, fewer accessible open spaces. We have neighborhoods across Los Angeles where there are no parks. I think that the Quimby Act standard is within 2 miles or something like that. That doesn't really serve the community. The Quimby Act was enacted in recognition of the value of access to open space for recreation and aesthetics and other purposes. And I think we're losing some of that. I'm also concerned that the city seems to be working at cross purposes in that we are under pressure to increase housing, but we also have other departments within the city that have vowed to, for example, protect biological diversity and giving up open space and providing only token vegetation as screening for industrial buildings and things like that is not really providing habitat and protecting biological diversity within our area, which is one of the most biologically diverse in the country. I'm making a statement more than a question, but to make it a question, can you provide any update as to the interpretation or application of the Quimby Act and how it would apply with the new standards that are being introduced now and access to open space?
Yeah, and Quimby still applies, it's still a fee, and that fee goes into a fund, and that is distributed, we're not changing that. What we are changing is how we read differences in the zoning code. So we call this an outdoor empty space, and every form district, every zone will have a certain percentage being dedicated towards open space. And that's not just a flat percentage, it's got dimensional standards, it's got planting area standards, and even in San Pedro. It's a species list. So the species that you plant in your park planting area will have to be named in drought tolerant. They support biodiversity. That also applies to the buffering and screening standards that I think we're proposing along in the industrial areas too. And we also require a set aside for open space all across in every zone, not just in residential zones. So even in, and that again is based on a percentage of your total lot area. We're looking at anywhere between 10% and 15% of the overall lot area will have to be dedicated toward outdoor space and need to be planted.
Thank you.
Maybe, you want to talk about lot limit,
The lot amenity.
lot coverage?
Lot coverage is another standard that we have with the percentage of your overall lot. Typically in residential, we say 45% or 50% of your lot can be covered by building, everything else has to be left open.
That's including ADUs?
No, it's not. So ADU, that is state law, that does supersede a lot of zoning law. What we're trying to do, and this is not necessarily part of the San Pedro work program, but we're trying to develop a set of alternative typologies that are competitive with state law. They give you a little bit more, but that allows us to regulate more too. So we have some examples in the slides, those multifamily examples. That's kind of some of the inspiration for what we're trying to do in the alternate typologies. And this is kind of inspired by what we used to see on the lower scale multifamily neighborhoods throughout LA, especially in San Pedro. So like the detached duplexes with a shared courtyard or bungalow courts, or the lower scale row houses with building breaks and gardens. That's what we're kind of offering up, hopefully sometime in the future as an alternative to just cramming a bunch of ADUs on a property, into their shared open space.
That would be great. Thank you.
Anyways, I have a couple more questions. We're talking about specific plans and we talked specifically about the coastal one, but we've got at least two more I know of in San Pedro. The one up on Western, and then there's the one for Rancho San Pedro. So what happens with those?
The one San Pedro project?
One San Pedro is one of them. Mhm.
So we worked with that team to make sure that that plan is going to be consistent with the new code. So that is going to stay on.
And what about Ponte Vista? That's also a specific plan.
Well, the planning department considers Ponte Vista as part of the Wilmington Harbor City community plan. So that was covered in with that updated.
That's been real controversial.
Yeah,
But it's in San Pedro.
Yeah, it's not something that I worked on, but maybe Alex.
Yeah, I mean, we applied the same strategy there, where we basically looked at that specific plan and matched it with compatible zones.
Okay. So the specific plan itself goes away, it just gets replaced by.
Yeah.
But the historic preservation overlay zone is not being touched, and neither is the San Pedro specific.
Yeah, it's another one. Pat?
Where, if at all, do you expect pushback from the development community or banks or whatever? Councilman?
Yeah, I mean, I think developers want less bureaucracy, they want fewer touch points, they want more things to be by right. And that's generally the direction we're going in terms of creating more objective standards that we have to vet with the community first, which I think is probably a better practice long-term. Come to neighborhood councils, do community outreach and say, what do you want to see? And then we'll code that and make sure it's objective so anybody can administer those standards. And then future development will have to adhere to that rather than entering into a discretionary process, which, you know, it's very unpredictable. We get at the end of that.
Yeah, I think that we're going to be really interested in seeing, once you do the coding, really spending time taking a look at it. When do you think that's going to happen?
We're shooting to release our zones maybe late summer, early fall. So I'll follow up with you to see if we can make that timeline, but we're aggressively trying to move this project forward this time.
So when you say release the zones, that means the map that shows for an individual lot, what it would look like.
Yeah, you could look up your own property and see what the proposed zoning would be.
Yeah, because I think we'll probably want to spend some time looking at that when that happens,
Okay.
maybe some early fall.
Diana, may I just clarify one thing?
Yeah.
I have a little trouble hearing a couple times and I missed, how is the specific plan going to be reflected or any specific plans, and is it different for some? And I think you said the coastal one would just remain separate as it is, not in the zoning code at all, but I thought you said another one in San Pedro would be reflected in the new zoning code. So maybe I got that wrong.
Well, the main plan that we're working towards unbundling to incorporate into this project and to the zone itself is the community plan implementation overlay, San Pedro CPIO. But some of the other specific plans are just going to stay on, like the historic preservation, like Vinegar Hill, as well as the San Pedro specific, the coastal specific plan. We also, somebody mentioned that one San Pedro project, Rancho San Pedro, has a specific plan, and we discussed that. We met with those planners and we made sure that that plan was going to be consistent with the new code, or at least it wouldn't have to be modified very much.
So they're completely separate. They won't be referenced in the new zoning code at all.
Well, we may have to make minor updates to those plans because the zone, any kind of regulations that they reference wouldn't apply anymore. So we will have to make some clarifying language to, the map, text and figures that we talked about. But we're not planning to go in and change any of the regulations.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. We will look forward to hearing something late summer, early fall. Pat and I we'll be out of town late summer, early fall. Okay. We will make sure that Thomas will be chairing at the time. We'll at least Thomas, we'll make sure it gets done.
It's Javier still.
Huh?
It's Javier still.
Well, he usually comes.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to our next item.
Yeah.
It's an update from Axel. Axel, are you here? Are you ready? Where's Axel?
We lost him.
I don't see Axel. He's not there. Hey, let me do, yeah, try to get a hold of mine, what happened.
Martinez said he had some other things too. Some comments advising. It's a nice one.
So Brian Martinez, which is the next one would be the state update from Brian Martinez. He was not able to be here because he had a conflict tonight, but he did send an update. He says, "Good afternoon, San Pedro community leadership. I wanted to provide you with a quick update on key projects and policy matters."
Ready?
He's at the Caltrans at the Vincent Thomas Bridge community meeting tonight. I still wanted to ensure our community's concerns and recommendations are heard on this important project and share the following update. Before diving into the project, I want to express my sincere gratitude for everyone's legislative and policy input. Your voices are crucial to Senator Richardson as she reviews and votes on policy in Sacramento. Please continue to share your priorities with me. And he puts in his email address. Now, here's a few local updates on local projects. The Vincent Thomas Bridge, he talks about the closure this weekend that I think everyone knows. But just in case, the detours will be in place on State Route 1, Pacific Coast Highway, Interstate 710. Additionally, Senator Richardson recently requested Caltrans director, questioned the Caltrans director about the projected one-year bridge closure. And there's a video that he sent a link to. So that'll all be in the minutes and you can look at that. The Western Avenue parking changes. Our office has received inquiries about parking adjustments on Western Avenue from 19th to 25th Street. You aware of this, Doug? Okay.
Yeah.
These changes include the removal of some parking spaces, were implemented to complete bike network gaps and improve ADA accessibility as previously communicated and approved in 2021 by the city. These improvements were also supported by the past CD administration, Vizcayano.
By the way, Diana, I did check today to see if I could find which parking spaces had been eliminated between 19th and 25th, and I couldn't find anything.
Huh,
And I'm not sure.
what it
I
is.
mean, I drove past it like yesterday afternoon and I didn't notice any.
Evidently, someone's contacted their office about it.
Yeah, so,
So it's part of the bicycle infrastructure project.
yeah.
And then he talks about the Wilmington Mobility Hub that Caltrans is in pre-design phase for transforming the Wilmington Park and Ride into a mobility hub. While not in San Pedro, it offers a regional transportation option to access key destinations like SoFi Stadium and the Intuit Dome via LA Metro. He says your feedback is important to ensure this hub meets community needs, especially regarding safety, and provides a link to give input. While some of these projects predate Senator Richardson's term, she's committed to ensuring your concerns about local state projects and policies are addressed. Please continue to share your feedback with us. So I will either, I'll put it in the minutes as opposed to forwarding it separately. You get hold of Axel?
He has not responded to the text.
That's weird.
Okay.
Okay, so while we're waiting for him to do that, Elise, do you want to talk about the Jedi Zone?
Sure. So I just want to thank all of the neighborhood councils for your support on the Jedi Zone. I think as most of you know now, or you've seen in the Daily Breeze, the zone was approved by the LA City Council. And yay, I know, thank you, 2 years of our lives. And for those of you who are new to the project, so a Jedi Zone stands for a Jobs and Economic Incentive Zone. It's been approved on Pacific Avenue from the first phase is 1st to 14th Street. And then in the future, we hope to go 14th down to beyond the spot, that area. So Axel and I are meeting with EWDD to make sure the funding is in place. So there are some key incentives in the zone. And one of the things that our property owners are most looking forward to is it comes with a commercial storefront improvement grant of up to $75,000 per storefront. So we're hoping there's that we can really improve a lot of our aging, dilapidated storefronts. So the Business Source Center, who's a tenant of the chamber here, chamber staff and department and CD15 staff will be doing extensive door-to-door bilingual outreach on Pacific to explain the benefits of the zone and to sign up the property owners. We're have a meeting with the architects that have been assigned to the zone tomorrow. They're very, very talented. They've worked in other zones in the city. They do a lot of really creative work with graphic signage and paint, and with the security bars, working with the owners on how to paint them out if they want to keep them, so it blends more seamlessly into the storefront. So we're moving forward, hope to start outreach in the next 30 to 60 days, but we just want to make sure that funding is in place because people are really waiting for that storefront funding. But super exciting. And I think one of the reasons we got the zone is because of the collaborative effort between the neighborhood councils, the PBID and the chamber all coming together. And I think city council committees were very impressed about the total collaborative effort. Because CD15 has 3 Jedi zones now, Watts, Wilmington, and San Pedro, which is very unusual in the city. Most council districts have 1. So super exciting.
Kudos to Elise for leading this.
Fantastic.
It's we walked 2 years ago in February where we all walked Pacific, met with business owners and talked about their needs. So this will also come along with tree trimming, just a lot of benefits to the businesses in the zone. So more to follow.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
I have a major question as well.
Okay,
Funding,
yes.
what's the source?
So it is CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Funding, which I've been told the funding is in place and it is secure. But based on the recent, information that we've all heard from the city, the budget deficit, the mayor has said, no, nothing's sacred. That's one of the things I want to lock down.
Okay, because CDBG, isn't that federal funding?
It is federal,
But
so
it's already here.
it's here and it's in the bank. I have been told not, but that is my first question when we meet with the department, EWDD, are the funds are locked down?
Yeah, no, and I mean, and that's good, but I'm just thinking too about future funding. The other question had to do with, you mentioned the architects. Are these folks who work for the city?
No, they are an
Okay.
outside architectural firm,
Okay.
and then it's got a very unusual name. It's called Office for Office.
Okay,
Very experienced team in these types of urban projects, and one of the architects was born and raised in San Pedro. So he's very familiar with the community and is excited to work on Pacific. Yeah. Mhm.
Will the storefronts who participate in the program or grants, will they be required to state their business name or their type of business? We have so many like anonymous buildings.
So, that's a good question, Adele. I will ask the architectural team that. One of their goals is to really help the business owner attract foot traffic into the storefront. So you do want to identify what you're doing. But yeah, and they're doing that through graphics and signage. But I'll ask them that.
It might be more of an issue where now that I think about it, where we're stopping like at 14?
14, yes.
It seems like the anonymous, who knows what they are,
Right.
shops or who knows what, are further down, could be further
So
south.
when we did the community walk, and I have all the notes, there were
Yeah.
teams that went as far as 22nd Street
Yeah,
on the
my
walk.
team did.
Your team did,
Yes.
and so we did take notes, we did knock on doors, and the teams will be doing door knocking.
Oh, that's great.
So, we'll try to get as much information as we can. We also talked to the architectural team about picking some key locations to do maybe 2 pilot projects. So we demonstrate to the property owners the benefits of, personally, one of the storefronts I would like to address is the pawn shop at 7th and Pacific with the broken signage. It's been broken for over a year or longer. And so, because it's a beautiful building, but it needs help. So that'll be, maybe we tackle one of those first.
Lamar?
I don't mean to try to figure out how to articulate this. But I'm throwing Javier under the bus. Central has no clue about any of this.
So Lamar, I came personally and spoke to Central from public comment. I think I was even on the agenda to ask for support for the zone. So we had all 3 neighborhood councils aligned in a support position. It may have been, a year and a half ago, because we've been in a 2-year process we were at various different committees. We've been at Trade, Travel and Tourism. We've been at Economic Development Jobs Committee. So it may have been like even a year and a half ago. Because I think we started the outreach at neighborhood councils like within 6 months of doing the community walk in February 2023.
Yeah, it was right. It was pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It was probably more like 3 months.
3 months
after that,
out, yeah.
I can appreciate this. The bottom line is I'm throwing Javier under the bus. And the reason I'm doing this is because there was some controversy within Central, and it's no hidden secret about this dysfunctionality of Central. But the bottom line is the fact that once I got in the committee, I asked them numerous times for information. He provided none.
Okay.
And clearly, it's almost like being on a train after the train's already left the station. But the bottom line is Central has no clue about any of this.
Do we need to, because this is such a critical project and it's such a positive project, do we need to come back to Central? I mean, because I I will pull the letter. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know I got support at the neighborhood council meeting. We had a positive vote.
The problem is that no one understood the concept.
Okay,
And the reason I say that, my background is in investment banking, so I'm familiar with
Right.
these concepts. And one thing I asked him was having to do with the structure of the Jedi zone, who was involved.
Mhm.
And again, I'm purposely throwing him under the bus. I'm going to the record in regards to throwing him under the bus.
Would it be helpful for you to sit down with Elise?
right,
And
we
get your
could.
personal questions answered so that you can help inform Central better?
Sure.
Maybe an
best way-
offline conversation.
Oh, yeah. Lamar, what do you think is the best way to communicate with Central on this?
Well, I took over the chair a couple of months ago. So
Okay.
part of the community.
Yeah, he's. Oh, no, 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 no. No, I thought that he recused himself because he was involved in a project.
I think that is part of the problem, is a conflict. And the reason why I say this is because you don't have to be Stevie Wonder not to see the fact that one reason why he's not on the council allowed him flexibility to.
Maybe he's on the office to office team.
No, he's not there. But I mean, it's a partnership between the city of LA, the Business Source Center and the community.
Again, I repeat, I'm throwing him under the bus because,
Okay,
I'm sorry,
well, we can maybe meet separately
sure,
and go over everything.
because I took over the chair. He's new to the committee. And there's two others on the committee have no history in any way, shape or form. I'm familiar with the concept.
Okay,
Oh, so they're pre 2 years ago.
Correct.
I mean, or that's the problem.
Yeah.
The new group isn't aware of
Okay.
what went on 2 years ago.
And I do recall,
Okay,
That makes sense.
you recall the letter that was generated that had to do with economic development, employment, et cetera.
right.
We shared with Javier that it did not make any sense in regards to the way it was phrased. So some of the language taken out of that letter having to do with economic development.
walking the street.
So there's a direct tie-in with the connectivity plan and restoring our historic commercial corridor. And there's a transportation component at Seventh and Pacific. And Adrian, did you have your hand up?
I had two. One, you said that there were two other Jedi zones,
Yes.
right? One in Watts, one, how long ago were those? And then what was this?
So
the outcome of that?
Wilmington and Watts were both under Councilmember Buscaino's administration. So, they've, so Watts is further along and Office to Office has done most work and they've done some beautiful work in Watts on the storefronts. Wilmington is in the process now. They've been doing outreach, signing the owners up, and I'm not sure where they are in the storefront. The next, so we're starting to plan out the outreach phase to the businesses.
My second one is, I don't know how technical, even expanding it to the downtown Sixth Street. That's a problem I'm really having is because, we have this zone that's giving all this opportunity and then you walk down the street and it's vacant after vacant after vacant after vacant.
So that's a leasing issue with some of our longtime property owners that is tied into West Harbor. A lot of these owners are waiting for West Harbor to be developed and opened. And then they will really get aggressive on marketing their spaces. So there's that issue. There's problems in retail and restaurant development. So we could have a whole other conversation on that. Sixth Street was actually turned down by the city of Los Angeles for a Jedi zone. Councilmember Buscaino actually proposed it, I want to say maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. And they turned it down.
It was turned down in committee?
It was turned down by the Department of Economic Workforce Development Department has to do an analysis. And the zone has to meet certain criteria. So Sixth Street, because of certain factors that I can't remember now, was turned down. But Sixth Street has a lot of love and attention by the PBID. There's a lot of work going into that. But you've got property owners that have historic aging buildings, and you have tenants that don't want to put the investment into those historic aging buildings, and property owners that want the tenants to do it. We just had a big meeting on this about really how to lease up this space on 6th and 7th. But Pacific Avenue to me, just because of the historic nature of the buildings and it's a major entrance into San Pedro in downtown. And it had the economic and it fit the demographics and the analysis they needed to do. And it was approved and I'm super excited because I think Pacific needs the love and care and the P-BID's really focused on 6 and 7. That's just my opinion. But
I have a question about the storefronts to get the 75,000. Is there going to be some kind of design review by the architects?
yes,
Some control over what they do with that?
yes.
Yeah.
So they will be working on design plans with the owners.
Okay.
The one thing I want to do is just see what the covenants are on the building, because when we did this under the CRA and they did the investment on the 7th Street storefronts, there was a covenant. So it had to be in place a certain number of years and there were certain regulations that kept it in place. So they did improvements. And that's one of the questions I have for the team.
I know you're ready to move on, Diana, but this sounds like it's right up our long-term planning. We've talked about a barbell sort of thing from the
Yes.
third building to Winter Grand, and then the next move was up and down Pacific. So this is right up the.
It's been a priority for years, and this is probably the most effective tool to improve Pacific
Yeah.
Avenue.
I have another question.
Yes.
When was the architect selected?
So the city of LA does an RFP and they have a bench of consultants. And this was a team that's already working in CD 15 that was selected. And I'm assuming I'm assuming we're meeting with them again, that they have the bandwidth and they will do the same project.
Anyway, I want to thank Elise because she put a lot of effort into this. She went down to both the committee meeting and the council meeting, but beyond that, she pushed the department, she pushed the mayor's office, she pushed the council office. There was like constant pressure.
Well, it was a
get this
team
done.
effort. It really was. And Amanda Enriquez, who formerly worked for Councilmember McCosker, did a lot of
She
pushing
did too.
with the mayor's office and the department.
But
So it was
you,
a team.
you have to have a good deal of credit in there, Elise.
Well, I'm excited. I think this is one of the most significant projects for downtown San Pedro.
And it all
Impact.
started with that joint walk.
That's right.
All take credit for that.
That's what I mean. Like, everyone needs to take credit because our first committee meeting, yes, Pat, we'll move on. We were complimented by the city council members at committee, which was huge, that we all came together in this unique collaboration. Now I
We
know.
talking for a year for Elise.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, Axel had to leave for another meeting.
Oh,
But he hadn't told me ahead of time, so we didn't know we needed to move it up on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm back
He
in.
back?
He's back.
He's back?
Yeah, I didn't want to miss it, so I jumped back in. I was on the Vincent Thomas Bridge meeting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I figured that's where we were. Okay.
So I don't know if Axel and I are then going to meet with EWDD next week. Hopefully,
Correct, yeah.
Axel, I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to add in on the Jedi zone.
Well, yeah, we've just been talking about the Jedi zone, but maybe we can move on to the
Yeah,
the
I've been listening
council
in.
members' motion.
Correct, yeah. I've been listening in, Elise, and you covered everything. You might as well have been part of the office with Amanda on that one, so I think you've got it.
There you
tacked
go.
down.
Thank you, Axel, for your help.
I have a
Of course.
question. How much do you know about this Jedi zone?
A decent amount. So I was actually with former council member Buscaino's office and was the economic development deputy at the time. So if you had a question about why the selection of Pacific, is that kind of what we're getting at?
No, I understand why it's selected. I'm just trying to get a the history. Like I said, I'm throwing Javier under the bus because of the lack of communication and providing information.
For Central, you mean?
That is correct.
So my last go around in the office, the Pacific Avenue project was being proposed because, and I think Elise, you covered some of this, not to beat a dead horse, but the bid boundaries really kind of prevented for the office and the bid from really expanding their resources onto Pacific Avenue. And so I think I was already out of the office. I left in 2021 when Elise and Amanda took over that project. So I wouldn't have been there when it was presented to Central, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things that I asked Axel to talk about, tonight, there may be others, but I specifically asked her to talk about the motion from councilman regarding the port leasing and placing the PIP in the charter.
Sure. So
Why don't we at least start there, Axel?
yeah, I can jump in if you'd like. I just have one update that's kind of planning and land use related.
Okay.
One San Pedro project came to Plum and flew through with flying colors this week, yesterday. And so I'm working on getting it scheduled before full council, and I'm also working with the group with with HACLA as well as the National Corps folks on their ASIC application. And so the ASIC application is kind of one of the remaining pots of federal state funneled funds for these kinds of development projects. And so part of it really includes having to have some kind of transformative transit project that that kind of increases the level of service, thereby reducing the level of greenhouse gas emissions. And so that's something that I'm working with the team on. It's not the easiest, it's not the easiest pot of money to get access to. And so there may be some outreach. The reason I bring it up to this group is there may be some outreach, especially within a mile of the project, for pedestrian improvements that include sidewalk repairs, crosswalks, beacon signals. So kind of keeping that all in mind, I have a couple of days, I think, through early next week to get them a list. So I may reach out and see if there's any preferences you have. I've kind of laid off the bike improvements just because I know how tough they can be, but just wanted to flag that all for you.
Can I ask some question?
Yeah.
Axel, one thing we've been talking about is trolley service.
Correct.
And I don't, if there's an energy efficient trolley. Is that something that might be applicable in this application process?
I think it might be the really tough piece to get at is it all comes down to level of service, right? So what you have to prove is that you're going to have increased ridership with this new set of equipment, and that increased ridership is going to equal cars off the road, hence a reduction in GHG. So if we can make that argument with ridership numbers, maybe. And I've been arm twisting, to be blunt with the group, arm twisting LA Housing Department to give a break on their internal deadline, which was about a week ago, to give the team more time to get there. And we've been in conversations with DOT, so we might have a couple of options for them because ASIC allows for operations management budgets to be part of their scope. So that means if they want to put the $15 million that is generated for the grant towards a transit project towards paying for bus drivers for the next couple of years, because the department has an easy time getting grants for purchasing buses, but never for operating them. And so that's kind of the sneaky route we're trying to go to make it fit. But I can keep the group in the loop on where that goes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Sorry, Dan.
Just ask Axel, are you aware that probably 2 or 3 years ago now, there was a walk around Rancho San Pedro to look at sidewalks and lighting and?
If it was anytime after 2021, I wouldn't be aware.
So we might want to ask what the outcome of that walk was.
Yeah, and that's who I met with. I met with Zoe Kranerman, and so she's very aware of her immediate area, but we need a few more sets of improvements within that 1 mile radius.
Yeah,
So,
I don't even remember who was. I'm not even sure Zoe was involved at the time we did
she might
that.
not have been. No, she might not have been.
Yeah, so somebody at Rancho San Pedro should have. Patricia might know.
Yeah.
Somebody should have the results of that, because we actually went out and we looked at very specifically, we walked each block and made notes about what was needed.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I can, I check in with her every week, so I'll double check on that. But I was on the meeting with them today, and that was one of the requests they made. So that's kind of what I'm working on. But I can jump back into the motion for charter reform. So our office introduced a motion to look at 2 specific issues regarding the Port of Los Angeles to codify in the charter once the reform process begins. And the first of which everyone's really familiar with, which is PAIP. To give you the update that I know you're also waiting for, I've presented a couple of options and did a site walk with port staff Monday in Wilmington, because that is where we are in a little bit of disagreement in terms of what list of projects they have. And so the council member didn't feel it was robust enough in Wilmington. hence why I've gone out with them and included a few others. So the disagreement for now, at least until we unveil it and you all get a chance to react, is not necessarily in San Pedro just yet, but there is a bit of a disagreement with them in Wilmington. So I know this is the first go around in terms of the council office being involved. So I appreciate you all bearing with us. But to get back into the language of this motion, PAIP currently doesn't operate within the city process and is not codified anywhere in the system, right? And what that means is it's kind of an informal arrangement between the council office and the port. And that is, while it's been a successful program over the past decade, there is nothing enshrining it or making it a requirement of the port to do, right? It's only kind of a loose agreement between two entities of the city. So the purpose of us exploring this charter reform is to codify PAIP into the city charter, so that from now on or moving forward, if and when it's adopted, PAIP is codified and is a requirement of the port and not kind of a loose agreement. And this really takes a look at us, kind of creating a definition for annual operating budget, because that's kind of loosely defined as it is. And essentially, kind of nailing down that 10% number. And more importantly, in the future, I think at some point in the next decade or so, we're going to run out of these kinds of public access projects that are directly touch the waterfront, right? As the waterfront continues to redevelop, we will eventually hit a limit. And I think, the direction that we've been trying to go in, and a little bit more in Wilmington because of the impacts of the port there are a little stronger, is we want to be able to have projects that are port related, but not necessarily on port property, and be able to use this pot of funds for those specific kinds of projects. And so a lot of it's going to have to do with freight mitigation, kind of creating boundaries and buffer zones for those neighborhoods impacted the most by port operations. But for the immediate future, it's really ensuring that it's enshrined in kind of future charter language. And I can stop there because I know that's a whole mouthful before we actually get into the leasing policy, but I'll open it up and then I can move on to the next item. Hello?
May as well move on.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if that was my screen freezing or dead silence. I'll take the dead silence. So the next portion of this has to do with the port leasing policy. And now this really is a byproduct of, kind of the evolving technology at the waterfront and the issues over automation that have come up in recent years. And so essentially what we want to enshrine in the charter is language that gives us the authority to request an economic analysis be done every time that there is a lease that comes up for renewal or a new tenant wants to come into the waterfront. And the purpose for that is ensuring that if there's going to be a negative impact to jobs, we need to have some kind of recourse to ensure that the public property, which is the Port of Los Angeles, doesn't contribute to job loss, especially the kinds of jobs that are well paid and exist currently along the waterfront. So, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, but it crashed, so we missed part of what you said. So we kind of need to start at the beginning of the leasing policy.
Got it. Is that a little better?
Yeah, we're fine now.
Okay. It wasn't on my end, right?
No, all right.
Okay, got it. So as I was saying, the second portion of this motion has to do with the port's leasing policy. And this originates because of the issues that have arisen over automation at the Port of LA over the last couple of years. Concerns about automation and its potential impact on well-paying jobs, good-paying jobs at the waterfront. And so in order to ensure that we take a deeper look at what kind of economic impacts leases that we enter into in the Port of LA have in the local community, we want to be able to have a method of control that requires that an economic analysis be done every time there is either a lease extension or a new tenant is coming into the waterfront. And I think the eventual purpose of this will be for us to have some kind of recourse that if we see that the new tenant coming in is going to kind of create a great deal of job loss then we have some recourse to say no to those kinds of lease agreements, right? And the purpose of that is to ensure that we have well-paying waterfront jobs for generations to come. So that's kind of the purpose behind these two, these two items within the motion, is really to ensure that the community has a proper amount of funding for infrastructure projects related to the port, that we codify the amount of money we get every time, and to ensure that it is no longer a, kind of an agreement between entities, but rather a requirement of the port. And on the lease end, it's also a way to ensure that we have protection for, kind of some of the best paid jobs that we have in our district. And I'll open it up if you have any questions.
What's the council file?
Lamar had a question.
I could defer.
Oh,
Robin?
Sorry, I just wanted to ask what the council file number is.
it's the one on the agenda. It's,
Oh.
25-0-118.
Okay, so that's the motion from the council file. Thank you.
Yeah, the motion itself doesn't have it on it.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Axel. What is the port's position on this? And was there any discussion on at least raising the minimum of 10%, a little bit even higher?
So the port, I mean, the executive director has reported back a few times to Trade, Travel, and Tourism, kind of regarding this issue. Are you talking about the leasing policy specifically, or PIP?
No, just the motion itself.
The motion itself, I mean, I don't think it's real until we actually start the charter reform process, right? So for now, I don't think we're in those kind of fisticuff discussions where they disagree on a percentage or where they disagree on lease language. But I would say for now they're ambivalent until it's a real issue and we're having those discussions, and then I'm sure we're going to reach a place where we disagree.
So you referenced when it went to Trade, Travel, and Tourism Committee, and Gene was there, the port was there, they commented. What were you alluding to there?
It was a very kind of benign, we're doing our research and looking into it. It wasn't the lengthiest of report backs on that item.
Pat?
Axel, there are several things in this motion that I think need to be changed, and I'm not sure how you could do it. I support the motion, and I'll make a motion that we support it, but there's a few things in here. Can I call your attention to them? And I'm not sure how we would communicate these to Tim, maybe by side letter or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring them up my way.
Well, the first one is the use of the annual operating income. The port is very clear, the use of it has been in the past, that it's net operating income and not operating income. So in paragraph 4, for example, in front of operating income, in the second line, would need the word net inserted there. The same thing in the number 1 on the next page under the motion itself, under the funding for public access projects, to be net annual operating income, and it's also in paragraph. You have 2 paragraph 1s and 2 paragraph 2s in here, so I renumbered them. So paragraph 3 would be operating income. That would be net operating income. I could take a minute to tell you why it makes a difference, but I know that the port, if it's Chief Soroka has changed his position, would call your attention to that difference as well. The second point is on project planning on in the motion page, paragraph number 2. It has here on it that the Harbor Department engaged the City Council office on an annual basis no later than March each year to determine projects for the next fiscal year. That needs to be September at the latest. The port's budget process starts the day after the fiscal year starts in July or whatever it is, October, somewhere in there. But the very next day, they start putting their budget together, and each department comes to the Board of Harbor Commissioners in January for the budget hearings, and then the Board of Harbor Commissioners adopts their budget after that. So having the port come to, having the harbor department come to the city council office in March, after all that budget's been adopted, is way too late. So they need to engage your council office and really no later than September. So what, 6 months before the March date that's in here. The next thing that I wanted to mention to you is that in the definition of the net operating income, you have the purpose-directed funds aren't counted in the revenue, and that's fine. But what the port has done in the past is that they said, okay, here's your 10% of the net operating income. For example, for the plaza at the end of 6th Street.
Yep.
And then they went out and got $7.5 million from Metro, right? And then they took that off the top, and so they didn't put the $7.5 million in on the PAIP. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So they can't, I would recommend it to find a way to expand the definitions there in that paragraph 3, so that in the examples, our purpose-directed funds don't get counted against the PAIP. If you follow me?
That makes perfect sense. No, absolutely.
Okay, so I had another one here. I had one on, well, that'll do. That'll do. Those are the main ones that I'm saying. Oh, the last question is a question. You mentioned charter reform. Is this charter reform effort being done pursuant to the government code sections as it was in 1997 when the 2 charter commissions were formed?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time? I was having a hard time.
Well, the government code, California government code, and the Constitution of the state provides a method for amending or for charter reform. And in 1997, when the 1925 charter was examined, and when our present charter was adopted in 1999, it was done pursuant to the Constitution and the government code. And you use the words government, or you use the words charter reform here. There's a difference between proposing an amendment to the charter and putting it on the ballot. The city council can do that. It's one of the methods of doing it. But a charter reform is something that's a step up from that. And so do you know if Tim is looking at a real charter reform or simply amending the current charter to add sections concerning leasing policy and
Understood.
PAIP?
Understood. No, this would be part of the broader citywide charter reform process. So it would require the charter commission.
It's underway. You know if they're doing a charter commission?
Yeah,
Can
they are
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, they're in the process of appointing and putting together a charter commission.
taking applicants.
Right.
I almost came to you to see if you wanted to be on it, Pat.
No, I don't want to.
So I didn't bother to tell you.
Especially if it splits into 2 like the last time, right, Pat?
I'm sorry?
I said especially if it splits into 2 factions like the last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was counsel to the elected charter reform commission. So I was there every, twice a week, really. Once in the community and once in the with the commission itself. So
Yeah, I read Dr. Sonnenschein's book and met with him and chatted with him about it at length. And it sounds like a pretty brutal process. I was still a bit of a kiddo at that
made it
time.
into one footnote in his book.
I'm gonna look you up.
So talk about a little bit about the process here, because I noticed it's already gone through the 2 council committees, so it's getting ready to go to council. But this is something that would then go to that charter reform commission to come up with language. What happens? How's this going to play out?
Yes, well, I mean, in the broader sense, it's going to go to the established commission. They're going to go section by section as the new charter would apply to each department, including proprietaries. And so within that proprietary subsection, we'd address the Port of LA and work to codify, language that enshrines PAIP and the port leasing policy in the charter. Specific language, obviously, we're still really, really far away from what that would look like. But eventually, once the Charter Reform Commission completes its work, those, their, you know, kind of their recommendations would go to the ballot. And then the ballot would ensure that they're enshrined, right? They become law.
So once it goes through council, the next public input time would actually be to the Charter Reform Commission itself.
Correct. Yeah, that's when we would get into the nitty gritty work of specific policies addressing, you know, different parts of the.
So their staff would draw up the proposed language based on this.
Exactly. This is just kind of a direction. That's something that we're
Yeah.
highlighting, an issue that we're going to look to apply through that process.
Right. Okay, that's because I want, you know, because there were some concerns about some of the language that maybe needs to be changed.
We have time, right, Axel, to work on language?
A whole lot of time, yeah.
But if we want to support the motion, we don't, when do you think the motion is going to go to city council?
For full council approval, I need to check with Anissa, but not too long from now. But in terms of voicing your concerns or what kind of framework in terms of language you would want to see, right now is not a bad time to introduce that through a letter. There's going to be a whole lot more time for you all to kind of work through specific language, and for us to work with the Charter Reform Commission to make sure that it's added. But if you want to raise the issues that you see now, or specify a little bit more on what we've kind of outlined here, you know, it's not a bad time to do that now as well.
So I guess, any other questions?
Yeah, one quick comment. When the Charter Reform Commission is established, I would assume that the city clerk will put them into the community impact statement portal system, so that neighborhood councils, as the Charter Reform Commission works, should, and we can check into this, be able to file community impact statements commenting on these various items.
Commissioner, I think you should take that up and make sure that happens.
Actually, yes.
Yeah,
I'm just making everybody aware of it because I may be back saying we need some help to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
I agree.
But
There definitely needs to be a
it
mechanism.
will be established, I believe, as a regular city commission. Well, regular in the sense of, you know,
Subject to the
having to
primary.
adhere to the various requirements.
So my inclination is to try to support the motion, knowing that there's some language that we still want to work out.
So are we supporting the concept or just the motion in general?
That's how we want to word.
Let me ask Axel a question. Axel, do you have a suggestion on if this group wanted to support the idea of the September instead of March date for kind of consultation with the council office, and maybe change to net operating income? How's the best way to do that? Should we just pass the most support for the motion with a comment that they consider the addition of the word net operating income and the change from March to September?
Yeah, so I think you should definitely, you know, write a letter of support and then write the caveats of issues that you have concern with, or the language of the motion that you've seen that you have some concern or would like to see amendments to. And then obviously that goes into the record, but then separately, I think it would be good for us to have a conversation offline and with the Port of Los Angeles staff as well, to make sure that that's aligned and that makes sense, so that once we do get into the reform process, we're all on the same page.
So the question is, does anyone want to make a motion?
I made the motion.
Say it again, because now's the time to make
Well,
it. You made it kind of.
I move that we support the Councilman McCosker's motion on Council File 25-0118 concerning PIP and port leasing, with the suggestion to consider the definition of operating income to be net operating income, and the consultation, the engagement with the city council office no later than September of each year preceding the next fiscal year, rather than March preceding the next fiscal year. It's gonna die for lack of a second.
I'll second.
So we've got to do it by neighborhood council. So Jason, so Pat moved, Jason seconded. And I assume in there, Pat, that you said, you were saying we file a CIS in support.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And in our CIS, we have the suggestion of the net operating income and the, okay, so we have the motion for Northwest by Pat, a second for Northwest by Jason. And I think probably that was Thomas I heard, but Jason. So any other discussion from Northwest? I will take a vote for Northwest. Pat,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Diana, yes, and Garrett. So that is unanimous. That will go to our board. Do either Central or Coastal want to do anything?
Robin, what do you want to do?
Yeah, I thought we could do a motion. I'd like to keep it a little more generic because I don't understand all of the corrections.
That's right, yeah.
So I was thinking something along the lines, I move that Coastal St. Peter Neighborhood Council supports Councilmember McCosker's motion on Council File 25-0118 concerning PAIP and the port leasing be folded into charter reform.
Second.
Great. All right. Any other discussion?
Yeah, can I make a comment, Robin?
Yeah.
Instead of folded into charter reform, I suggest you
Well, that's
make
what
it-
that's what their motion calls it.
well, no, I would suggest you say be considered by the Charter Reform Commission.
Amend the motion to reflect that language that you're saying, that you brought up.
All right. I'll amend the motion to say we support Councilmember McCosker's motion, blah, 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 concerning PIP and port leasing being considered by the Charter Reform Commission.
Second that.
Okay, great. Anything else?
No, say be considered by, or sent to the Charter Reform Commission.
I said be considered by.
There you go.
Okay.
That's close enough.
I wrote that, but I might not have said it. All right, we'll vote then. Adele,
Yes.
Elise,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
anyone else there that I didn't notice? Okay, well, it's unanimous. Thank you. We'll take that to the board.
Can you send me your language so that I get it right in the minutes?
Sure.
Thank you. I'll
Yeah.
get Pat's language at home. Do you want to do anything from
Is Frank still on the call?
Frank?
Frank,
No, Frank's gone.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Oh, there he is.
I'm here.
Sorry.
Yes.
Voice from the
Yeah, there he
wilderness.
is. So you have a quorum.
I'd like to move the support using Coastal's language.
Okay,
second.
Adrian,
Call vote.
Lamar, you want
Call the question.
to?
Frank,
Yes.
Adrian,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so all three committees unanimously passed it, and we will support the motion. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Was there anything else, Axel? Axel? Axel?
Sorry, what was your question?
Back to the bridge.
To the bridge.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, and now we can hear you.
Sorry, you guys had any additional questions for me?
Oh, no, I just asked if you had anything else. I do have one other question for you, and that is that I heard a rumor that there might be somebody trying to build a affordable housing on that little, on Nelson Street. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't.
Yeah, that was somewhere, I saw that.
You haven't? Okay.
I haven't, but
You
I
know,
can.
it doesn't go through the regular process, so
I think it was on next door or something.
Yeah.
I saw that.
is that what it was?
I can
Thank
take a
you.
look.
Thank you,
I can take a
Axel.
look and let you know, but I haven't gotten any entitlement requests, and I am splitting. I have some of the major projects, and Pam has some of the other ones, so I can check in on her end.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Axel,
Lamar has an Axel.
there was a project that was presented to the last joint. It was, I can't recall the specifics. It was 281 units.
Is this the Beacon Street project?
The Trammell Crow.
25
Trammell
South
Crow,
Beacon.
right?
The green onion.
Yeah,
Where-
Beacon Street.
Where's the council office as relates to that project?
Currently, I mean, they haven't asked for our explicit support. I have helped out a few times in terms of helping schedule hearings. But I think we still want to get, the project is not yet, I don't think they have full site control just yet. But we'd be very interested to hear the plug committee's, the joint plug committee's opinion on it.
Central has issues with that project.
Okay, so let's have a chat offline when you have a chance. I'd love to hear it.
What is it?
So we can
You can talk to him directly.
He wants to hear your.
It has to do.
Not now,
Okay.
but afterwards, offline. Okay, that gets us to other updates of items of interest to the committee. And the first one I wanted to do was the John S. Gibson chassis project. And just because I'm not sure everyone's familiar, I'm going to have Pat just briefly remind everyone what that project is.
A group has purchased the land, owns the land just north of the police station and the other building that's on North Gibson Boulevard, between Gibson Boulevard and the freeway. And they've been doing environmental work on it for several years and recently issued a draft environmental impact report. And I think I'm not sure if all of the neighborhood councils commented on it. I know Northwest and Wilmington did furnish comments on it. Basically opposing the project as proposed for a variety of reasons. I don't know what the schedule is on it, but the owners or owners representatives contacted Diana and Gina Martinez, who's the president of Wilmington Neighborhood Council, and invited them to come and walk the project with them.
What I wanted you to do is to talk about the number of truck trips and
That's what we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
1,700,
talk about being contacted and what the,
right, 1,794 truck and trailer trips a day, 24/7 operation into on the facility. High mast lighting, some grading and some quite a few 30-foot walls on the property. Reading the DEIR, it's not very far along, really. They haven't gotten any permissions from Caltrans or from city engineering yet, or it doesn't look like they've initiated them even for the project.
so as Pat said, both Northwest and Wilmington put significant comments in on the EIR. And then the councilman wrote a letter opposing the project.
He also, last June, introduced and his city council adopted an ordinance that said no more expansion or establishment of trucking operations north of bridges and south of Sepulveda or east of Western Avenue. And so this is an issue that's going to come up in the future too, with reuse of Phillips 66 refinery. It's going to come up with the reuse of the DFSC supply facility on North Gaffey Street. We hear from the Navy that they may be trying to market it to container storage and a trucking facility on that property.
So I got
I got a ton of other things I could say about this project.
I just wanted you to give, just brief to remind people.
Yeah, no, because I got, me and Lamar were contacted by
them as well.
By them, but it wasn't specific and I never.
They wanted us to come up to the site.
Right, they asked the same.
So, yeah, and so I declined and invited them to come to the committee. And they said, oh, no, we want you to come up to the site. And I said, well, maybe the committee would be interested in going to the site. And they said, oh, that would be fine. So we could do a special thing where we go there, or we could continue to ask them to come here.
What's the size of the site?
It's 18 acres, about 8 or 9 acres will be leveled.
So it's substantial.
If you're,
If
if
you
you're on
go
the
up there, there's flat
freeway,
land now, there's about 2 acres of flat land there now. They're
Oh.
gonna be cutting into that.
They're gonna cut.
Yeah, into that
that's the
support.
hillside.
Oh, wait.
When you're driving, when you first go onto the freeway and you look over on the right. That vacant area.
So it's that, but that's a large parcel.
It's a large parcel, but it's
Yeah.
I too was asked to, but I don't know what the hell I'm gonna see that I haven't seen a million times. Driven by there.
I would say right now, given the status of this thing, that the board is considering and the comments to the draft environmental impact report and stuff like that, it would be wise for us to invite them to come to a joint committee, and so that we have a record. Because we record these things and have them on the record of what they're proposing to do. I think it'd be very foolish for us to go out there.
Yeah, no, in the email they sent, it was just, hey, do you want to come? Oh, and they're.
Oh,
Well, when I didn't respond the first time, they were asking me a second time.
Oh, right.
Who's the representative for the project?
Honey,
Mike
you
Tooney.
know that name?
Oh, Mike Tooney?
Mike Tooney.
No. Well,
Yeah, it's
Mike,
Mike
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I had my hand up because we've been involved in this one. So they may have reached out to you all because we met with them about 2-3 weeks ago now. And they obviously received our letter, the EIR letter, and wanted to follow up in person. And so I let them know in person that our issues with the project had very much to do with the incompatible land uses that they're proposing. The project is bifurcated into two separate entity areas that have land use authority over them. So the Port Master Plan has a good deal of authority, the majority of the parcel under its jurisdiction. And that parcel is currently designated as open space in the Port Master Plan. So they would be required to go to the Harbor Commission and get a Port Master Plan land use amendment. And so because the land is currently inconsistent with what they're trying to do, which is consider maritime support. And then one edge of the parcel is actually controlled by the Department of City Planning. So they have to go through both processes, get a coastal development permit, a dual coastal development permit from both agencies. And that is the reason that they are looking to start making the rounds, because they know that they don't have the support of our office. And my first question was, what kind of community engagement have you done? And what neighborhood councils have you spoken to? And, it was kind of blip on all of them. And so I said, well, you can't expect, the request was obviously change your stance on the project. And we said, no. And I said, engage the community and see what kind of response you get. And if you were ever to get a positive response in any way, or you had the majority or all of the neighborhood councils behind you, then maybe we could reconsider. But you not, kind of engaging anyone else in the public on the process, then that's completely out of the question. So that may be the reason they reached out to you all.
So for many years, the board had a policy which they seem to, which looks like they may be in danger of abandoning, to create a buffer between the port's industrial uses and the community. So we have all of Cabrillo Phase 1, we have the inner Cabrillo Beach, we have the waterfront, West Harbor, we have the bike paths along they're almost ready now. We have certainly Wilmington Waterfront Park, everything. For them to change now and say, oh, it's okay, put some community impacting trucking uses and industrial uses on this parcel seems to be very inconsistent.
Correct.
In addition to that, I've been contemplating asking the council office would support a community impact statement that said, look, readopt it as a policy, go back and do what you've done before to have this kind of a buffer between the community and your industrial uses. And also take the 516 parcels that you own in Wilmington that you acquired for port expansion years ago and start converting those to some pocket parks or to sell them and put them back on the tax rolls.
Yeah, one of the things that, and that's kind of the philosophy of the new community plans in both Harbor City and Harbor Gateway. and Wilmington. So when I was here right when we started launching that process, I was here for about 2 years while I was in the process, and the entire philosophy of those community plan updates is to create those buffer zones through kind of changing use patterns as tenants or owners start to vacate properties. So if you take a look at the Wilmington community plan, the Harbor City one and the Harbor Gateway one, we were really intentional about creating these transitional zones, for example, like Anaheim Street, south and east of Anaheim Street, continuing to be primarily heavy industrial, with that area right north of Anaheim being a transition zone to create a buffer. And so I agree with you. One of the reasons we objected to the project too was that it's kind of flies in the face of the ICO for trucking uses, and that really northernmost portion of that parcel that is technically considered Wilmington would fall underneath that ICO to prohibit trucking storage and chassis storage uses. So I agree with what you're saying, and would definitely be glad to take a look at how else we can create those buffers in San Pedro outside of community plan update process.
So I'm guessing that the consensus of this group, if I've got it right, is that we should invite them here. We should turn down their invitation to go there, but I should a second time invite them to come to the committee, and I will tell them, unless I'm seeing nodding around the table. I will tell them that that's our consensus, that we would like them to come here. We'll see what happens.
You don't want to go stand out in the field?
No, he's already a person outstanding in the field.
All right, so I want to move on. The next thing is Phillips 66. After our last meeting, Elise and I and Thomas met with Heather and wanted to follow up on this idea of having.
Nancy, wasn't Nancy?
Oh, and Nancy, yeah, they're also Nancy, of having some kind of a community input session. And what we agreed on at that point was to let them take the lead and to have the first Thursday of May, have them set up outside of Sirens and do community input, and that we as neighborhood councils would then help publicize it. So they're going to be putting together a flyer and we'll help publicize it. So that'll be the first Thursday in May. And then they want to come back on May 9th, which would be the following week.
We would be off schedule, right?
We'd be off schedule. It'd be a special meeting to lay out kind of their thinking, having gotten the community input, then what their thinking is. So to save the date of May 9th for that, and then we can figure out from there where we want to go.
Is that, after they do that presentation, would it be too late for neighborhood councils to still submit?
No, it wouldn't be too late. No, that would be for us to be able to give more input.
That's what I wanted to.
May 9th
And I got the date wrong?
is a Friday, was it?
I got it wrong.
7th.
May 7th.
It was May 7th. They
I
wanted
am
to come
sorry.
back.
It's
That's
May
okay.
7th.
That's why I have.
I was looking at this going, May
Yeah.
1st, May 7th.
May 7th, uh-huh.
May 7th is a Wednesday? Or
It
Thursday?
is a Wednesday.
Okay.
7th is a Wednesday.
Yeah, May 7th. Okay, the next thing is that the North Gaffey project, Augie feels confident that the Caltrans lot will be included, and we should start seeing some activity along North Gaffey with those improvements very soon. They're starting to work.
We saw some surveyor flags out there.
Hmm?
We saw some flags out there. construction flags.
Yeah, it looked like they're getting ready. So that's what's gonna go on North Gaffey. The San Pedro Waterfront Arts District got a grant from the port to create and install an artist-designed crosswalk in front of the Maritime Museum.
Oh, how
That's
neat.
something that we all,
We talked about that, got a trillion years.
we talked about that
Yeah.
many years ago for another grant, and then we
Uh-huh.
talked about it as part of the PAIP. So they got a small grant to actually do that, which is kind of neat.
Nice.
You probably know because of the SR 47 on-ramp work, Harbor Boulevard to North Pacific is going to be one way. Yeah, you don't know.
I
Okay.
don't know.
You're going up
Say
Harbor
that
Boulevard,
again?
Harbor Boulevard.
Yeah.
To North Pacific, that little loop is on evenings and weekends.
Oh.
Going to be one way, so you can come from downtown that way, but you cannot come back the other way. Yeah, we saw that the other night, it was all blocked off. The Alta-Sea is holding an Urban Renewal Energy Summit Saturday, October 12th.
April.
October.
I only know because we're a sponsor of it.
It says April right here.
Sponsors, yes.
Thank you. I'm getting tired. Saturday, April 12th from 10:30 to 2:30. There's going to be an expo. And they're going to have an emphasis on sustainable development and advocacy, workforce development and career pathways and entrepreneurial. So it's free, but they want people to RSVP. And I'll put in the minutes the link to that. The ports of LA and Long Beach are giving a progress update on the Clean Air Action Plan, Wednesday, April 2nd at 10 a.m. The meeting is going to include information on their 2024 air quality achievements and their 2025 priorities, as well as a status update on the truck and cargo handling equipment feasibility assessments. The meeting is going to be at Banning's Landing, but it's also going to be live streamed. And so again, I'll put that in the minutes so you have the link if you want to go look at that. Doug, you want to talk about the library reopening?
Yes,
Saturday,
yes.
April 12th.
A lot.
The library will actually be open at 9:30, but the ceremonial hoo-ha is at
Scissors.
noon. What?
The scissors are coming out. The chamber scissors will be there. Scissors.
Yes, and however, I've been informed that the soft opening will actually be the 7th.
Oh, okay.
So
And get your books early.
you will have an opportunity unless that changes, but that's what I've been informed of. And library staff will actually be back there working April the 2nd, I think. So they will be in there getting ready, and I have been informed that there is a lot of work to do. But that it is much lighter and brighter.
That would be nice. And at least
Most importantly, tremendously updated security, cameras all over the place. And yeah,
Nice.
security, the LA Public Library actually has an entire citywide initiative to upgrade security across all the public libraries. It is a big deal.
Wow.
And fiber optic cable and all the rest of it, and maybe changing stations in the bathrooms, although I don't know if that'll apply to anybody here.
In the bathrooms.
But yeah, a lot of really good new roof, new ceiling tiles, new floor. Theoretically, the parking lot will be in the budget for next fiscal year. But that's, in this day and age, that's very theoretical.
Yeah. Okay.
But I encourage everyone to go check it out.
Nice.
I have a question. In the front, right, you know, the side of the 7-Eleven, that tree right there, isn't there a tree? Right
Trying
there?
to picture it. Is it the one right on the corner
It
there?
is, yeah. Did they trim that one? Cause I know, I remember Drew saying that the tree was causing damage to the roof.
I think so. I know they trimmed all the trees in the back. So.
That gets us to.
One other quick question, and this may be in the realm of rumor, but there was some suggestion that the back part of the library parking lot, you know, on the other side of that wall, that low wall, was being considered to being taken over by DOT with paid parking, which there's like 10 spaces.
I've not heard that.
Yeah, that came through the library at some
Okay.
point, and it's a dumb idea, and I think it's just being floated somewhere.
Maybe.
If anybody's serious,
Still on? No.
but
Might be a control.
Ask Drew about it.
yeah, I will. That just popped up and I'm like, okay, whatever. I know that there was a business nearby that was seeking public parking.
Right, that's what I'm wondering, yeah.
And that's maybe where it derived from, but I'll check on it.
Okay, so that gets us to public comments on items not on the agenda.
I presume everybody's aware that White Point Nature Preserve and Nature Education Center is the largest natural open space in San Pedro. Our largest annual fundraiser is the Wild and Scenic Film Festival.
Oh.
will be showing on October, I'm sorry, October. Sunday, April the 13th at noon at the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium.
April 3rd, that's gonna be a busy weekend.
Yes, so you can go to the library grand opening on Saturday, or when you've gotten over that, you can,
Check out some books on locally sourced California native plants.
there you go. And show up for the film on Sunday at noon. And the following Saturday, the 19th, there's a volunteer day at Wake Point.
Ticket sales to the Land Conservancy?
Yes.
Okay,
pvplc.org.
okay. Okay.
PVPLC.
That's a fun event. That's a good event.
It is, it's, I think, the 10th time that we've done this, and they've all been very well received.
Any other public comments? Okay,
Well, what about this Saturday?
this Saturday, go ahead. That's what I thought you were gonna say anyway.
Oh, well, this Saturday, for people who want to get some fresh air at Peck Park at the intersection of Walker and Elberon, there's a volunteer day under the guidance of Diana.
Under the guidance of
Working on a
Alan.
native plant parcel there, their project. Adrian's been down there and put in some elbow grease to help us restore native habitat there. And it's another good place to see birds and butterflies, things like that.
9 to 12.
Night time.
9 to 12 this Saturday.
Free coffee and donuts too.
Adrian knows, Adrian's been there. He has come work several times. But it's actually it's actually fun because it's kind of social and
Yeah.
you get out and you do a little weeding and it's fun. Anything else? Okay, next meeting, April 23rd, and hopefully by then we will have the PAIP. We had thought we were gonna have it tonight. But it gets got hung up over this Wilmington issue, so hopefully we will have that to the PIP recommendations to look at.
Ordering a new camera.
A new camera.
Oh,
And the art ports, people I think are coming back.
Okay.
We will find out. I think that's, and some give their
Well done.
plan. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Good night. Thank you, Dana.
If you've scrutinized.
Oh,
the,
yes.
Oh, I just said thank you. Thank you for hosting. Sorry, I couldn't be there.
Well, hey, thanks for being up late.
Congratulations, Elise.
Think about the archaeological.
Oh, yeah, late. And Thomas.
Oh, we.
It's gonna be.
Like I was running you to get you. By what I just.
Well, so this. They're working.
Wait a minute.
That is. Yeah, hopefully.
Oh. Right, when I saw the list of candidates, I said, I know who that is. Yeah.
Jeremy is going to solve.